Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Cross Circle, the official podcast for PlayStation Source. I'm your moderator, Christian Buckley, and as always, I'm joined by the other half of PlayStation Source, Mr. Kevin Diaz. How you doing, Kevin?
What's good? What's happening? How we doing? It's a good you know what? I have good vibes to the show. It's gonna be a good show, this one. This is
me
gonna
too.
be good. This one's gonna earn a like. I dig it. I dig it.
Fueled up on coffee, ready to go, ready to talk some games.
I am as well.
I'm in that point right now where I like talking about games more than I'm enjoying playing games. Have you ever been there before?
I have been there before. Yep, I've been there before. I know what you're saying.
I think E3 is like a really big time for me when I'm like, I'm really excited to talk about like all the things I've been liking this year, everything that's coming up. It's just like I don't want to put the time towards actually playing things as much as I want to like talk to people about things.
Yeah, I mean, I just see it as just like, hey, you know what? It's an exhaustion over a thing you love, and it's like,
oh yeah,
you can't hate on that. Like,
right?
it's
yeah,
all good. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still playing these games. I'm still playing these games out here. So you know.
Yeah,
I'm still holding it down.
Late nights, obviously, lots of hard work, but today I want to kick things off. Last week, if you saw the podcast, we did a little game to kick things off. This week, I want to go over something that I always love hearing about and love talking about. I think it's really interesting. I might just be alone with this, but NPDs.
I also dig NPDs. A lot of people don't like them.
Dude, I think they're so
I personally
fascinating.
like them. I like them a lot. I like to see the trends in the industry and everything. So
it's like my sports statistics. I look forward to it once a month. Like
100%.
Obviously,
100%.
you get your like ESPN updates daily, but like, man, NPDs are so interesting to talk about just because of the placement of everything. It's like if you actually put data into console wars, and I'm really about it.
Same.
So
100% about it. 100%.
Listeners, if you're not familiar with NPDs are the National Purchase Diary. Everything that publishers give out as far as their sales numbers, how games do every month. And basically this company or this organization combines all that together and ranks them into giving us the top selling, best performing games, best performing hardware, accessories, etc. of every month. And around June, right after E3, they always do their little yearly update with everything that's been selling really well so far for the first half of the year. So for today's episode of Cross Circle, I want to kick things off going over a little bit of the NPD info. It's interesting for me always to see what people are buying. I remember a year or two ago, Wildlands was really dominating. Ghost Recon, that is. But before we get into the actual games, I want to go over two pieces of information I thought were very interesting on the NPD reports. All this This recap is being pulled from Forbes. They really did a nice recap of all the information that the NPDs put out. So for the month of May, the PS4 was the best-selling platform in terms of units sold, I believe.
Surprise.
Right? And then
yeah.
The Nintendo Switch Neon Bundle was the highest-selling SKU in both units and dollar sales.
So wait, that's the bright yellow Joy-Cons, right? Like
it's the like, neon red and blue.
Fluorescent. Oh no, okay, that one. Okay,
yeah.
Okay. So like kind of that's like low-key was the launch one. I got the gray Joy-Con Switch.
Yeah, I got the
I feel you.
The Mario Odyssey bundle last October. But
right,
I'm rocking the yellow Joy-Cons on it right now. I'm a big fan of those.
I see you.
So yeah, PS4 doing well. Switch selling higher in terms of their total income because it's a $300 console that's newer.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have the lower priced. I think a base PS4 right now, not counting the days of play sale. A base PS4 is what, like $250 right now?
I think it's $253.
Yeah.
I think it's $250.
Yeah, it's definitely not $300 for a Slim anymore as far as like a 500 gig goes. So that explains it if the Switch is selling more in dollars. And the other interesting fact I pulled was that Ubisoft is the top selling publisher of 2018 so far.
Which that one is, I just didn't expect it, but I understand it. And like it's like a little bit surprising just in the sense that we're gonna talk about the NPD games. So like I don't want to like spoil it or jump the gun or whatever. But we just tend to always kind of forget how good and how big Ubisoft games are. Is what
Yeah,
I
we
want
can
to say
just
right now.
outright
Yeah.
say it. Yeah, like Far Cry 5 is
Yeah.
the best-selling game of the year so far.
Yeah, and it's like we have talked endlessly about God of War, about just these other massive games, right? But then we understand Far Cry. I beat Far Cry. I played Far Cry.
Yeah, I put a
great
lot of
game.
time into Far Cry. I never
Far
finished
Cry was
it,
great.
but yeah.
But it's just not a game that like we talk about in that sense, and it's just crazy that like that's at this point the number one best selling game so far of the year.
Yeah, well, if you look at
the
the last few years, also, like I said, Ghost Recon Wildlands destroyed for a very long time. Same with For Honor. For Honor did very, very well. We just don't hear about it that much. I think it's because these Ubisoft titles have a very wider appeal than we're used to. Like
100%.
most people in the business of YouTube, the business of talking to people about games.
The more hardcore, I guess you could say.
Yeah. I guess no one really likes to go out there and praise Ubisoft games. Ubisoft is my favorite of the third-party developers. I think they put out lots of really quality games. And Far Cry 5, very impressive. I'm sure by the end of the year it's gonna slow down, but Ghost Recon ended up dominating even that end year NPD list.
Yeah,
it was still present.
Yeah, just to talk about just Ubisoft for just like a little bit. I don't know. Ubisoft is just an interesting developer and everything, just because they have this weird secret sauce where if their game doesn't do that well in like year one, whatever, they are the masters at just reviving their IPs and reviving their games. You know what I'm saying? And giving them a long tail. You know, like the Division, is popping right now. Rainbow Six is popping right now. Wildlands just got their just got the one. I don't know if they just got it, but their PvP mode was like a few months ago.
And they had that not Ghost Recon. They had the Splinter Cell event earlier this year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like they just for some whatever reason, even if their game flops at launch or doesn't do that high at launch or whatever, or gets backlash or whatever, they turn it around like no one else does.
Yeah, I really have a lot of respect for the way they run their business.
Yeah, it is. They don't drop their game and just move on to the next one. They really take care and nurture their games. So that's something to be said for. Yeah, for sure.
And like you said, we do talk about God of War a lot, and obviously I think Far Cry 5, surprising as it is to be the bestseller, it does have the advantage of being multi-platform.
Which, yes, of course. Yeah. That's also a thing. Yeah.
I'm interested to see, though, if any other Ubisoft titles this year end up making their way on here. Like, I know very soon we have The Crew 2, and then later this year we have Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And in my head, those are the only two big Ubisoft titles coming this year still.
Yeah, that's all I'm thinking as well. I don't think Crew 2 is going to do anything. I think Odyssey might.
Yeah.
I mean, not might, will. I'm sorry. It probably will, Odyssey. Yeah. I would definitely bet that. Just off of from the hardcore standpoint, Origins being so good, and off of the casual standpoint, it's Assassin's Creed. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people like Assassin's Creed. Yeah. So I definitely see that game popping as well. But
So to go over the rest of the best-selling games year to date of 2018, number 2 we have God of War, which, as we said before, no real surprise there. Huge PlayStation exclusive, lots of critical acclaim. We're going to be talking about God of War again later on this podcast when we get to our topic for this week. Number 3, Monster Hunter World. Again, something we're going to bring up later. Monster Hunter, big presence in the West for this release. Very surprising. One of the fastest selling Capcom titles, right? Is that what the stat was?
I think it is. Yeah. I think it is. Is it fastest selling in the West or overall?
Fastest selling Capcom game overall. I just mean this is like the first time Monster Hunter's had a huge presence in the West, and obviously it's because it's a console release. Number 4, we have our first title from a previous year showing up, and that is COD World War II. So
that's the usual juggernaut.
Call of Duty always has legs. Number 5, it makes me very happy for 2 reasons. One, because it's a fighting game, and fighting games traditionally, from my knowledge, don't do very well. And number two, it's because it's a franchise I love. Dragon Ball FighterZ, 5th best selling game of the year so far.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
I really did not. Okay, interesting. I did not expect that to be on there. Huh.
Yeah,
okay.
Dragon Ball FighterZ. I'm no way a good fighting game player.
Right.
I can do some really basic combos, but yeah, the hunger for the Marvel vs. Capcom replacement, I guess, was filled.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's supposed to be assumed to be having a big presence at EVO this year, which was expected from the second I saw that game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, good support.
And yeah, and like with me, I'm not the hottest on fighting games, but whenever I get a chance to play one, I always enjoy it. You know,
fighting
I just
games are
never.
fun.
Yeah, exactly. I just never yearned to go and get one. Like the last fighting game I probably played through entirely was Mortal Kombat on the Vita. You know, so that was like 2011, something like that. 2012, yeah. So
yeah,
but
good on your Arc System Works. Mm-hmm. Now, everything else, the bottom half of this list, are all games that have released in previous years, not just last year.
Right.
Which is interesting because number 6, if you can have a guess, Grand Theft Auto 5.
Of course. The day GTA 5 is not on top 10 NPDs for a month, I truly think that's the end of times, honestly. Plus, it's like the main pull of GTA 5 is really online. Not at this point. I don't believe. Yeah, like
I bought the main GTA again for online, so I could play with my friends this summer.
That's the thing. Yeah. So like the fact that GTA Online is going to still, you know, carry GTA 5 into the top 5 NPDs, I think it's still a thing. I think it's still going to happen. I think.
A few more things on this list. Again, like I said, previous year's games showing up. Number 7 is NBA 2K18. Number 8 is MLB 18 The Show. As you'd expect, sports titles usually do well first half of the year when they're on sale. Number 9 is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which, interesting note again about NPDs, they do not report on the digital sales for Nintendo because Nintendo doesn't give out that information usually. So Mario Kart 8 is only being reported for the physical version of it.
That is kind of wild to think about.
So you have to imagine, because of what the Switch is, and me personally, I know there's several other people that do this for the Switch, I'm all digital on my Switch.
Same.
So you can only imagine what Mario Kart 8's listing on this list would be if they reported digital sales. I could see it being closer to GTA, maybe above 2K and the show.
For sure.
Just because that is the title with legs to get on the Switch, because that is the multiplayer game, that is the very good looking multiplayer shared Joy-Con Switch game, you know?
And I think also it's like, listen, if you're going in the store and buying a Switch, right, you're gonna get Mario Kart.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's just like, it's just what you're gonna do.
Yeah, especially families.
It's like right now when you buy a console, you're likely gonna get GTA 5.
Exactly.
Like it's just how you're gonna. It's just how, you know.
Yeah, GTA 5 was the first PS4 game I got. There's certain titles that when you get a console, you want to have that. Especially if families are buying Switches now for the summer for the kids or whatever. Mario Kart 8 is the one to get because you can play it with your brother, sister, family.
And this is May, right?
This is the recap for the year so far.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry. My bad.
Right.
Apologies. Yeah.
So,
my bad.
Mario Kart 8, 9th best-selling game of the year so far. And rounding it out at number 10 is PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. PUBG has a huge presence. The mobile version's free, but the console and PC versions, I think, are $30.
I want to say 30.
Yeah.
I think it's 30. I'm pretty
sure. So PUBG sitting a little cautiously at number 10.
Yeah, doing their thing. Yeah, they lost. Was it half their player base since January? I think it was half.
PUBG.
Yeah, which
is an entirely different discussion, but yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that was interesting to the people. Obviously, like I said, I'll have time codes if you want to skip over that, but I love talking MPDs. Beautiful. I'll be interested to see how many of these stay on and show up at the end of the year.
We will definitely double back and check in December.
For sure, yeah.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
But with that being said, we would like to transition A really crappy segue just did there, but you know what? It's all good. We're gonna keep it rolling. Okay,
Yeah,
good
so
show. Good
the
show. We're gonna keep it going.
these are the best-selling games of the year so far. So what we want to talk about now is our favorite games of the year so far. There's a little bit of a save there.
That was a better segue.
I have practice, man. Don't feel
Take
bad.
it away. I want you to give me what you think right now
Ooh.
is the current game of the year. What is your current game of the year? This game that stands out. You've been playing this year. You can't stop talking about it. It's nonstop. What is it?
So, obviously, there were a few contenders. There's a lot of games I've played this year that are new to me at least. I want to mention Hollow Knight later because I'm really having a great time with that game. But obviously, Hollow Knight came out last year. Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze is one I was really enjoying, but again, this is a PlayStation show, and that came out in 2014. But what I want to talk about for what I think is my favorite game of 2018, as of right now, Wednesday, June 27th, 2018, I had to look at the date, is Monster Hunter World.
Monster Hunter World.
So,
Monster Hunter World.
Completely honest, Monster Hunter has always had a presence in my head of something that I know it has a very historied legacy behind it, and I've just always struggled trying to get into it because it was so focused on handheld. And don't get me wrong, I love my handhelds. I really love my 3DS.
Long live the Vita. That's all.
Never got one, but I like the games that were on it.
Wow.
So yeah, Monster Hunter World was interesting because last year when it got revealed at E3, there were some people I'm friends with who really love Monster Hunter, just knowing them like casually what their interests are. And I always was very excited to see their reactions. But I gotta be honest, last year at E3, the PlayStation conference, Monster Hunter was like the big takeaway for a lot of people, and I was like, oh, okay. I tried the beta, was not a fan. I think that might have just been a weapon system I choked.
I had the same memory as well. Yeah, that.
Yeah,
I didn't feel too up at the beta.
So by the time
keep going.
By the time Monster Hunter World came out, that was the same day that Dragon Ball FighterZ came out. So I got Dragon Ball FighterZ, put a lot of time into that, and then a week or two later, a lot of the shows that I watched were really talking up Monster Hunter, and I was tempted to hop into it because that was a lull for me with games. There wasn't much out there. And Capcom, those sons of bitches, got me hooked on a fantastic, very in-depth, charming world. So much replay value, lots of new systems for me to discover, and amazing co-op stories for me and my friend who have been going through that game together.
Right.
And I don't think there's ever been a title from a long-running series that's come out that's got me to completely become so interested and so ready for what the next step is for something I've never played before.
Interesting.
Right.
So I just have like a few questions here, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
So would you say one of or if the biggest factor maybe is as to why like Monster Hunter became such a big deal to you would be because of the pitfalls and faults of Destiny 2.
I honestly, yes, I think
filling
that is part of it.
Void, you know? Yeah.
I think that's part of it.
Yeah, I feel that.
Because the friend that I play Monster Hunter with is also the friend I used to play Destiny and Destiny 2 with.
Right.
And I really give a lot of respect to Monster Hunter for being a complete, polished package. There's so much content in that game.
Don't want some shade. All right, bet.
Man, I enjoy Destiny 2, but like Monster Hunter is a meaty game.
Yeah.
That can throw some people off. That can like give some apprehension to people. Honestly, I had some apprehension towards it too. But my first few hours with Monster Hunter, I spent a little bit of time. Obviously, it's a very deep game, like I said. They really streamlined a lot for this release that I've researched other titles in the series and listened to some veterans talk about Monster Hunter World. They trimmed some fat. They made a lot of things more simple and easily to approach. Obviously, there are still some series curves you gotta like deal with for the learning aspects of the title. The way you fight, combos.
Right.
There's 14. I think it's 14. There's several different weapons you can pick from. Each weapon has a very, very different feel the way you play it. I use a hammer. The hammer is slow. It's very much about like getting your movement right, getting your timing to a point that you're very focused on, really learning how the movements and animations work, because the hammer's so powerful. It's so satisfying. One of my favorite things to do in that game when you're hunting a monster is go on top of a hill, run down. When you're charging your hammer up, you start doing a slide. If you let go of R2, which is the charge button, you launch yourself off the ground, do like a Sonic the Hedgehog spin in the air with your hammer up, and it just like hits the monster like as many times as it can before you touch the ground. It's very satisfying.
I didn't even know that was a thing you could do. Okay,
yeah, and man, there's like there's so many
Alright.
things like that for each weapon you want to do. Like there's an insect glaive, which is basically like a Darth Maul spear, and you can launch yourself with it. You can like pole vault, do all these air flips and stuff. The way you want to play that game is so great because it allows you to tailor the system towards your personal playstyle.
Right.
And there is some learning. Like I said, I had to look up some YouTube videos about tutorials for each of the weapons, figure out which one was more my playstyle, what I was comfortable with using. And some people don't like having the extra work of doing that. I think it made the game more enjoyable for me because I was struggling a little bit at first, but probably an hour in, turning the game off. That was after some of the tutorial missions were stopping. And like I said, I went online, I did some research, saw the hammer playstyle, really liked it, got back into the game, and just fell in love with everything that world had to offer. And I convinced my friend to get it like a week later.
So here's the thing, right? So
like I know you haven't played Monster Hunter a lot, right?
I bought Monster Hunter World because like you were talking about it, and I kept hearing it kind of funny, and I'm like, like maybe I might be into it. And I was like you previously, where I've heard of Monster Hunter, I understand the IP, it means a lot to the eastern side of the world and everything and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, like let me just try it out. And I didn't give it an honest shot, honestly. Like there was a time I came home from a party or whatever, and I was like, all right, like let me just try it. I had nothing else to do, and it didn't get my hooks in it, but honestly I feel like it didn't get its hooks in me because I didn't allow it to. I didn't give it enough of a shot, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, right? So that's where I'm at. I don't know if I'll ever give it a shot. I feel like the most enticing title to come out of Monster Hunter that will probably has a better shot of getting its hooks in me as opposed to Monster Hunter World would probably be the one that's going on Switch.
Man, I cannot wait
September,
for that. Generations Ultimate.
So yeah. So are you definitely gonna get that like 100% now? Now that you're sold on World, like you're
the second
100%?
When I was playing Monster Hunter World with my friend, we both have Switches, and constantly I was like, man, I really would love to play this on the go. Just like go hang out, get food somewhere, just chill outside and play Monster Hunter on my Switch. And obviously I had the potential to do that with my 3DS, but I didn't want to go back,
Right.
So when they finally announced Generations Ultimate for the Switch a couple weeks ago, I think, maybe a month or two ago, I'm so in. Day one purchase for me, my God. But I think for you, what I'm aware of, so Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate is sort of an upgraded deluxe version of one of the 3DS titles.
Okay.
So it's not a new game that is taking things that Monster Hunter World did to make the series more approachable.
Okay, I see what's happening.
But the reason I feel like I'm going to be able to get into it is because I'm 60 odd hours into Monster Hunter World.
Right.
And I have a general sense of the basic of this franchise. So what I'm going to offer to you is anytime, like reasonable time of day, if you want to check out Monster Hunter, I will hop in with you and I will run through the first few hunts with you, help you get adjusted, figure out what weapon you want to use. because I feel like as someone who, like you said, was burned by Destiny 2, I think you'll really be able to appreciate the world and what they offer you to do in there. Because if I'm being completely honest, there is a story in this game. The story, not great. But
yeah, I know. I guess I was on a boat with a bunch of hunters.
yeah, the story is more of a world builder as far as like a intricate story you want to be on the edge of your seat. Oh, what's going to happen next?
Right.
It's really just a way to convey to you your progression as far as what areas you unlock, what monsters you can go hunt now. I'm blown away with how complex the monsters' AI is, because each one is so distinct from each other, and they have their own interactions with one another and their environments. It's very dynamic. It's one of the most impressive AI systems I've ever seen in any game.
Really?
Yeah, they feel like they're actual animals. That's the thing.
I totally haven't heard that critique about the game, but okay, deal.
Yeah, like that's
not like critique in like a bad way, but
right. Yeah.
I haven't heard that being said. Yeah,
it's an aspect of the game that really hooked me as far as wanting to see what the next one was.
Okay. See, like now you're definitely selling me on it. Now it's like, okay, now I want to play it and see what's up.
Yeah, and like
now I'm down. Yeah.
The great part is, like I said, the world's very charming. It's very dumb. You have a cat that's your ghost essentially from Destiny. They're called Palicos. I modeled mine after my cat. Like, it's just fun.
I did one off my dog. I know it's not.
Yeah,
dog, but
it's
I did the best I could.
Yeah,
yeah.
There's really dumb puns. One of the the chef you go to get all your stat buffs before you go out on a hunt for like increased sprint time and all that kind of stuff. The chef has a cat. He's this like swole, giant, like scar over his eye, really buff cat. And you bring him ingredients from small monsters, and the more ingredients you get him, the more dishes he can make, and the more different buffs he can prepare for you, or just like stat bonuses.
Right.
And
I see
the progression. I think coming off of Destiny 2, the progression in Monster Hunter World, and the reason I think it's my game of the year so far, is just because of the agency it has, like player agency. Because the order you encounter monsters in, as far as when they present it to you in a way that you have a chance against it, is sort of laid out for you in a way that works. But the thing is, you're constantly unlocking new armor sets you have the ability to craft. Like, at the second you encounter a monster in the wild, whether it be super over-leveled or one that you're just encountering for the first time that's like sort of matched with you power-wise, you if you hit like them or you cut something off of them and you pick up one of the materials that can drop off them, the second you grab that, if you go into the blacksmith in the hub, you see that armor set. So like they're always teasing you with things that you can end up getting to. There's a certain point where you unlock the high level stuff that you can really go after, fight these really badass tough versions of the monsters that are really hard to destroy. The game is already challenging, but they scale the difficulty based on everything about how many players you have, what your level is, and all that stuff. But yeah, I give it a lot of respect for giving everybody the freedom to explore that world and the freedom to go after whatever monster you want to if you see it, because if I'm exploring the intro area to that game, I see a giant Rathalos, which is like the giant dragon on the box art, soaring above over my head, swooping down and picking up another low-level monster and take it to its nest. I can go to its nest, smack it on the head with my hammer. I'm probably going to die, but it lets me do it, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just a fun time. I really, like I said, it's the first time I've ever gotten into that series, and it's sold me so hard on whatever Capcom does next for Monster Hunter. I haven't had that much fun with a game this year as far as exploring. I think second in terms of exploring is Hollow Knight. I'm not going to talk about Hollow Knight a lot.
Okay. Yeah.
Because right now it's only available on PC and Switch.
Right.
I've never been huge on Metroidvanias, but Hollow Knight is so charming. In the same way I'm really into Monster Hunter about letting me explore that world, it's such a joy to go through Hollow Knight and see all these messages about what used to be there. It has a really good mystery to it. It's cozy, but it's creepy and unsettling at the same time. It's like...
Yeah, that's how you described it to me last night, too. Yeah, when we were talking privately. Yeah, you said, like, it was...
It's like...
dark, but mysterious. Yeah.
It's like if...
I dig it.
Some elements of the Soul series made their way into a really charming, well-animated, well-drawn 2D exploration Metroid game with the visual style of Tim Burton. And like all of that stuff is like a very hard sell for me. But Hollow Knight, I'm only like 3 or 4 hours into it, but it pales in comparison to my Monster Hunter playtime. But yeah, Hollow Knight is something I can see really sticking with me for a while. But
right.
That was a little
beautiful
side bit. Monster Hunter World though is like, yeah, that is my game of the year as of right now.
Beautifully said.
And the offer is there as long as you want it. I'll try to get you into Monster Hunter if you want to hunt some stuff.
I might take it because I just feel left out. To be honest with you, like I feel left out. Yeah, so it's like I gotta at least know what's up and see what's up for myself. So I might pick you up on that. We might talk about that later, right?
And
so game. Oh, no, sorry. Go ahead. What's up?
I was just gonna say that there's a game I didn't bring up that I know you're going to bring up that I'm very interested to talk to you about, and that is your pick for your game of the year so far. So take it away.
So it's between two games, right? And I think I'm gonna pick one of them right now, just off of the whim of just because I feel it like in my soul that this is probably it, right? So it's a little game called Celeste, and I forgot the developer's name. I know I want to pick the other one. I want to pick God of War. It's so hard.
I've got some takes on God of War when you want to talk about God of War, but let's hear about Celeste first.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna put a gun in my head and be like, listen to me, you got to pick one. I'm picking Celeste. It's by this indie. They made Towerfall as well. I'm on their website now. I'm trying to figure out what their.
So Celeste came out in January, right?
Yes, yeah. So it came out in January. It's by Matt Makes Games. It's a small dev team and everything. They're super nice on Twitter and everything like that, and like they're very responsive on Twitter and stuff like that. So they're very nice and personable and everything. And so I initially heard about Celeste through shows I like as well, same as you with Monster Hunter. I heard the main person was Tim Geddes of Kind of Funny, obviously. Oh my gosh, Kevin, you like Kind of Funny? What? That's brand new news to me. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he was talking about it, and he was very, very serious, adamant about this game. It was like, you have to play this.
Yeah, I remember him saying it was his like heartbeat for his game of the year in January. So that's some big talk. So
yeah, I think right now, I don't know if it still is. I think it might be still is. But I feel like my other game might have disrupted that, and obviously we have games down the road that we'll talk about later. But so I started to look into Celeste. I'm like, okay, like let me see what it's all about, right? So I was looking at review scores. IGN gave it a 10, Steam gave it a 10, Polygon gave it an 8. Like it's a very, very well renowned game, critically speaking. Like a lot of people love this game, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm like right now it's at 92. On Metacritic, like a 92%. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people love this game, right? So I'm like, okay, I have to try it out, right? I bought it on PS4, and then I stopped. After I bought it on PS4. I was about to play it on my PlayStation 4 and everything, but then I saw that it was on Switch, and I'm like, wait a minute. I gotta play on Switch. Like I'm like, hold on, let me play on Switch. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm a Sony pony and everything, stuff like that, but I had to buy it a second time for the Switch, right? I haven't even touched it on PS4. I don't believe so. Maybe I played like one level, but I haven't touched it, at all. So I left for a trip, brought my Switch with me. I was playing and everything, and this game is true. Like, I'm getting chills right now just talking. Like, I can't stress enough how correct everyone is about this game, right? Like, the way it is like hearing about Last of Us and then playing Last of Us and then understanding it. Right.
So
and being like, man, like there's no debate as to whether it's good or not. You know,
Right.
it is. No, what's up? Go ahead. I'm sorry. You.
Yeah, I was just wanted to ask. I haven't played Celeste. I've heard lots of praise about Celeste. So can you basically describe to me what the overall... I've heard a lot about the vibes, a lot about the challenge. Can you tell me, for you, how Celeste stands out in a world where a lot of people try to make challenging, pixely 2D games? Because there is a comparison to make there.
Absolutely.
And I think
100%.
the way you talk about Celeste, the way I've heard a lot of people talk about Celeste, I want to hear your take and hear how Celeste goes above and beyond for you.
Okay, so for me, right, it is a platformer. It's a very challenging platformer, right? So initially, with that being said, I wouldn't be down for it, you know, because like, okay, I understand a lot of people, you know, like super, super challenging games where like it's incredibly difficult. Me, that's not really my style. I don't really like that a lot of times. You know, I like a challenge here and there. You know what I'm saying? I like that, but when it's overbearing, it's like, right? And so it sounded overbearing, right? And throughout this game, there will be overbearing parts in this game where it's like, man, like this game will beat you upside the head. It will tear you down. It will question your gaming ability, right? But what this game does is that there are really, really, you know, strategically placed checkpoints, right? Where, like, I'm trying to explain this, but like, imagine... Like, for the most part, everything you see on screen at a current point, at some point in that screen, within the bounds of that screen, there is a checkpoint there, right? So there's a lot of checkpoints where, you know, and it's not even that, like, the game feels like it's helping you. It feels like it's trying to plant you in this situation, in this environment, to teach you something that you'll need later on in the game, right? Like it will be like the smallest things, there'll be one part where you really think that there's no way it could be done, right? But it's the fact that you have to do just this one nuance to what you were doing before that you will need for later on in the game. You know?
So it sounds like it's just very well designed.
Yeah. It is so smart in that it'll challenge you. But it's because you have to change this one little thing about what about what you're currently doing to be able for you to learn that to move on, right? So that's one thing where like I guess to just sum it up, the gameplay is super rewarding in that way, where it is difficult. It is a very, very hard game at times, right? But it makes sure that it just makes sure that it is not challenging for it just to be a challenging sake, like just not. It is not trying to be challenging just because it's challenging. It is challenging you so that you can learn a little bit of something that you will use later on. It's masterful. It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that I feel like maybe a lot of people were talking about. I'm not sure yet, but the dialogue in this game and the story in this game,
that's another thing I've heard about.
The metaphors in this game, it is. I'm chills right now. Just like I don't. Oof, like man, like the ends of this game and like what it all means, right? Like because okay, just bare bones, the way it literally is that okay, there's this girl, she has left her home because she feels for a bunch of reasons that I'm not gonna go on and spoil it or whatever. But she's essentially climbing this mountain that one of her relatives, I think it's her uncle or her grandpa, I forgot which one, but one of her relatives talks about how he was struggling in life and like was in a rough patch in his life, and he climbed this mountain, right? And so through climbing this mountain, this like mystical, crazy mountain, whatever, and he said once he climbed it, he learned so much about himself and about, you know, how to deal with the negatives in his life that he lived a better life after that. And it's all because of him climbing this mountain, right? So she goes on and she tries to do the same thing, and that's essentially the crux of the story. That's really all it is. Like, it's you climbing a mountain, which is very similar to my other game of the year.
Right.
But that's what's weird, too. I'm like,
themes.
huh. Like, yeah, I'm like, huh.
You liked Uncharted 2 a lot, right? There were mountains in there.
yeah. I'm like, huh, okay, I like mountains, but the, oh my god, dude, like
So
the way
can you?
I don't. What's up?
Is there anything that sticks out in your head? I know you're talking about the story a lot. Is there
Right.
any moment for you that sticks out to you in the game? It doesn't have to be like a huge story beat or whatever, but any point where you felt like the game took a step above for you? Like, do you
Yes.
when did the realization of greatness come in? Is there a certain stage or a certain moment that you remember that
Okay,
really shines?
I'm gonna spoil a little bit of this.
That's
right?
fine.
'Cause
I'll put up a
I
warning.
have to.
I'll put up a spoiler mark if people care.
First to last. Okay, so throughout the game, you are constantly in this like, in this tag you're it type of event or dilemma, if you will, with a reflection of yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this reflection is all of your doubts, all of your worries, all of your fears. It is everything that is holding you back from doing something as a person.
Mm-hmm.
It is that in its physical form, right? So it looks exactly like you, but it has just different colors. It's a darker version of you. It's very pessimistic, etc. You know what I'm saying?
Right, like
it's
your
just
Dark Link.
Yeah. It is just all of your worries that hold you back as a person, right? So there's a point where you have an anxiety attack in the game, right? And so like your screen goes back and you meet a friend along the way on the mountain. I forgot his name, excuse me, but he like helps you through this anxiety attack in probably one of the most emotional ways I've ever seen a game do this, right? And I'm gonna just say it right now because it's I don't know. So what the game tells you, so it's completely black in the game, and then the text says, "I want you to imagine a leaf," right? And the leaf appears on the screen. Okay, and throughout this whole thing, you hear your character model breathing heavily and like you're freaking out, whatever, and it's such a tense moment, and then he goes, "Okay, you have this leaf." And this leaf is going to fall slowly to the bottom of the screen, right? So what he tells the character to do is to breathe as if you are trying to blow the leaf in a suspended free-form motion. Like just to keep the leaf above from touching the ground, right? So she does this, and like the game kind of slows down, and you do this by pressing a button, I believe. So like you have to like hold down the button and let it go to simulate breathing and stuff like that. And that was just some of the most like wow, like like wow,
Yeah,
you know, like because that could have easily just been like a cutscene or whatever.
Yeah,
but
I appreciate when
and
games like take a break
yeah.
for a second, you know. And we were talking about this earlier. One of my favorite things about Life is Strange is the moments where you just get to sit down and like
exactly
take it all in, really relax for a minute, and just think about everything. So it sounds like the way they approach that is very powerful in the same way I feel like Life is Strange had a lot of those moments. But
100%.
yeah,
100%.
that's
it is and with just this game has just great addictive gameplay with the depth of its emotional story. And like the end, I'm not gonna say the end because that'd be just rude of me, but the end is like a real tearjerker. It's like a like because you expect it, but just to see what that outcome meant as a whole and meant for your character and meant for the implications of how her future will go on, it is like you have to play Celeste, dude. Like
it's
like
it's what I want to check out still.
100%. Like it is so. Oh my god, it's so worth it. So worth it.
Yeah.
Right? So
there's a few things from this year that I haven't finished or haven't touched yet.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I haven't finished, I know, is your
here we go.
runner up for Game of the Year. So I want to talk about this briefly. Because obviously, take a look at our upload feed. We like some God of War on this channel.
I love some God of War. Love me some God of War. 100%.
So,
100%.
I really appreciate the steps that Sony Santa Monica took to make God of War deeper, you know. You can throw whatever complaints you want to about PlayStation first-party games being forests and people, but the story of God of War is something that is really appealing to me. I love mythology. I think it's so underutilized in any medium. So I really love seeing God of War tackle it. I have some really, like, strong feelings about, like, in positive ways, about God of War in the terms of its combat, in terms of the narrative it presents, and the chemistry between Kratos and Atreus, and even Freya. But, like I said, I'm not finished with the game yet.
Yep.
I don't know if it's just, like I said earlier, where it's just I'm not in a mood to play games right now, but when I'm not playing God of War, I have no drive to get back to it.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I want to wrap it up. I want to see where the story ends up, because I heard people say cool things about the ending, which we're not going to talk about here. Obviously, this isn't a spoiler cast.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate everything that has gone into this reimagining of God of War, because it's some of the best things I love about PlayStation games, some of the best settings I love in any medium, and I think I give it the most credit for the story it tells about Kratos and fatherhood.
Yeah, that's a big thing I want to talk about as well. Yeah,
because in the same way The Last of Us really hit me with Joel and being a father, and that relationship between him and Ellie, and the relationship that they show in God of War between Kratos and Atreus, I think is very powerful.
Yes, I know it's Atreus. I swear, people are like Atreus. Like, guys, I get it.
Yeah. So I'm not done with the game. It's definitely in my top 5 of the year so far. It's probably my number 3. But yeah, God of War is really something else. I don't think story or mechanics, it's like mind-blowing or innovative. I don't think it has to be, but I think the story it tells and the setting in which it tells it and the characters is my favorite thing about God of War. But I know it is your second place, so I want to talk to you about everything you feel.
Yeah, and like, to even call it second place, it's like, honestly, I flip-flop every day. It's like, okay,
I do too.
God of War.
With a lot of things.
I can make cases for both of them being better than each other, right? But I think, so for both games, I like the combat a lot. I like not combat for Celeste's case, but the gameplay overall a lot. I like them both extremely, like, to the highest tier. Like, I love the gameplay on both of them, right?
Right.
But in God of War's case, you know, as much as, you know, the story, which I think it's okay to just say the crux of the story, whatever. So, like, you know, the crux are, you know, that a person died in this game, right? And you are carrying that person's ashes to the top of the highest peak in the realm that was requested personally to Kratos.
Yeah, I think it's fair to
what they should do.
Say that.
Is it cool to say? Okay,
it's the mom.
Yeah,
they reveal that within the first, like, 2 minutes of the game.
Yeah. I just don't know if I should tittle that, whatever. But so it is about this whole thing, right? It's and
I love that, by the way. I love because when I booted up the game and it said the quest was bring the ashes to the mountain's peak. I think that's like the first quest you get. I was like, oh, this is gonna be like the first act. I'm like almost 20-ish, I think, maybe 25 or so hours into God of War. Right. That is the main quest. Like, that is the goal of the game.
No, yeah, it is. That's truly it.
It's the journey, not the destination.
Which is where you get a lot of the love out of this game. That is what it's about. Yeah, you know, as that, and it's also as well in that same vein. You know, the big thing I brought up in the review, right, was that there is 3 stories being told in this one journey, right? There is the physical journey of you going to put the ashes on the mountain and do that. There's the journey of Kratos as himself, within himself, you know, coming to terms, you know, with these changes and everything and stuff like that. That's going as well as a Kratos thing. But then there's Kratos and Atreus. Right. And that is, I think, the most impactful story out of this whole thing. You know, it is seeing these two being flung with a task, right? And they've never really bonded that well. It said in the beginning of the game that only him and his mother would hunt. He would never hunt with Kratos, or like it was either Kratos would go alone and hunt, or Atreus would go with his mom, and that's it. You know, there was never really like a lot of bonding time with Kratos and Atreus, right?
Right.
And seeing them butt heads, this is a story about father and the son growing together.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. It is a story that has been told before, but I think the way they tell it and the characters they used to tell it is what I love the most about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
they really did a great job with this game.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely did a great job. Yeah. So I think I would definitely say Celeste currently is my game of the year, but God of War is extremely close behind.
Yeah,
you know?
I would obviously I would recommend any of the games we've talked about so far.
100%.
I think the first half of this year isn't as crowded as last year's was, but I feel like quality is almost matched in terms of releases.
For sure.
So, yeah, I have a way to close out the show where I have a list of pretty much the biggest releases that are coming out for the rest of this year.
Yeah.
So I want to run through these if you want to, because if we have time, which I feel like we might if we just run through it and pick.
Yeah.
Of what game or games you could see dethroning Celeste for you, Monster Hunter for me.
Right.
Okay, so Dragon Quest XI, Destiny 2 Forsaken, Spider-Man, Tomb Raider, Life is Strange 2, which starts this year, doesn't conclude this year, I would assume, Mega Man 11, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Black Ops 4, Battlefield 5, Red Dead Redemption 2, Hitman 2, Fallout 76, and Just Cause 4.
Okay, I got it. I got you.
So,
right.
do you want to go first?
You want me to go first?
What do you think?
Yeah. I'll go first. Okay. Two that I think could actually do it, right, is Spider-Man, but that would require it to have an emotional resonance, and I'm not seeing a lot of emotional, like, it just looks like a fun game.
Right.
It just looks like maybe its mechanics and gunplay are so out of this world that I love it to pieces,
Yeah,
you know?
it lets you be Spider-Man.
Exactly, yeah. So that one, probably tough, but it very likely could. I can definitely see it. Probably could honestly happen. And then the one that I think definitely has the best chance, Life is Strange 2. I mean, you know me, man.
Yeah.
You know me. I love Life is Strange so much. So, you know, like, that one probably has its best shot. For sure.
Yeah.
So I would say possibly Spider-Man, but Life is Strange 2 has its best shot. What about you?
So, for me, Red Dead Redemption is one of my favorite games, if not my favorite game of all time. It goes back and forth between, like, a handful of games, like Kingdom Hearts 2, but Red Dead Redemption had an impact on me. It's going to stick with me forever because of the time I spent in that world. So, Red Dead Redemption 2 probably has the best chance right now. I could see Spider-Man. Spider-Man is my favorite superhero. So, finally getting a really good Spider-Man game that lets me be really Spider-Man. I love Insomniac.
Yeah.
That has a strong chance, but I want to pick the game that I believe has the chance and something that I think can surprise me. So, because, again, Monster Hunter, huge surprise. Who would have guessed that was going to be my game of the year this year? Wasn't me.
Yeah. That's. I mean, I never thought Celeste would either.
Right, yeah.
You know?
That was
like,
so early in the year, too.
So early, yeah.
Yeah, Red Dead Redemption 2, like I said, probably has the best chance. That's the one I'm assuming is going to take over. But one that I have some feelings in my heart right now. It could go either way.
Feelings in your soul.
I've never played one of these games, but a lot of the vibes, a lot of the world, and a lot of everything that I know people love about the series, I feel like could appeal to me. It's Dragon Quest XI.
Dragon Quest?
Yeah, past few years, I started getting into JRPGs more.
Okay.
Persona 5 was my game of the year last year. That was my first Persona game. So I'm looking for that Persona sort of...
That itch?
Yeah.
That, like, okay.
And
gotcha.
Dragon Quest, the downfall I could see, it leans heavy into the classic JRPG stuff. It's just so refined and so well done from what I'm aware of. But yeah, Dragon Quest I think has a chance to surprise me. Red Dead I know will blow me away. I just am not ready for it.
I was gonna. I mean, I thought you were gonna probably say Monster Hunter on Switch.
On Switch? Yeah, the only thing with that is...
I mean, maybe. I know it's a different game because
right.
It's like one of like the mobile variants, not the Monster Hunter World
type
of
like,
style. So
Switch, I could see myself enjoying it more just because it's mobile. But I think Monster Hunter World is so refined and so streamlined that it's just so enjoyable. If I beat Hollow Knight, I feel like Hollow Knight is going to stay with me for a very long time, regardless of if it's a game of the year or not. But yeah, I think that's where I'm at right now for everything moving forward. But
see, good show.
Yeah,
it's been great. Yeah, fabulous time. You know what I'm saying?
Enjoyed talking about everything we talked about.
Chris, where can the people find you on your personal socials and everything and something like that?
If you want to follow me and hear about what I have to say about other interests beside PlayStation, besides games, I tweet about Nintendo and movies a lot. You can follow me at Chris N. Buckley on Twitter. What about you, Kevin?
And if you want to hear about how my hot takes on the hit song
Smash Mouth.
All Star by Smash Mouth, bad song, horrible. You can follow me on Twitter at TheKDIZ123, THEKDIAZ123. Follow me on there. I tweet a lot about games, music as well, and my hot takes on both of those topics. So definitely check me out on that Twitter and subscribe if you enjoy the content here on this podcast.
Yeah, so if you want to be featured on next week's show, you can comment down below, leave questions you want to be possibly read on air if we have time for it. You can also look out for a post that is going to be going up Monday or Tuesday. Like I said, we record Cross Circle on Wednesdays. So if you get a question to us before the following Wednesday of this show, most likely we'll see it. It has a chance being read on air. I want to leave everybody with this. Summer is pretty dry right now. There's not a lot of new releases coming out. Summer is my favorite time to go out at my backlog and work on some stuff, give some things some chances. So if you've been hesitant on any of the games we talked about tonight, check them out. Give them a chance.
Yeah, these are unskippable games, honestly. These are games that you have to at least give it a shot.
Yeah.
You know.
I think that's a good note to end on. So thank you all for watching. We appreciate the support. As always, greatness awaits, and we'll see you next time.